It's been a tough weekend for many parts of Florida and the southeast of the U.S. with Hurricane Irma. And I am not a meteorologist. This is not the Weather Channel. And there's plenty of coverage of the impact of that particular hurricane. But I want to keep building on our sort of conversation and understanding about the connection between climate change and individual weather events. And like I told you last week, whenever there's a hurricane, the anti-science crowd says it's not time to talk about climate change. That's politicizing a natural disaster. My view is any opportunity to talk about climate change is a good one. And there is a relationship between extreme weather events and their frequency and severity and climate change, but it's a complex relationship. Again, I told you this last week. Generally speaking, when you have a warmer ocean, that serves as more fuel for storms to build rather than dissipate. There's a very important number that tells us so much more about how and why climate change connects to more and more severe hurricanes. And it's called the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's roughly what it is. Some people call it the Clausius-Clapeyron relation. And it's a physical law, and it predates the modern politicization of climate change by several centuries, in fact. And quite simply, what that relation states is that every time air temperature goes up by 1 degree Celsius, that air can effectively hold 7% more water. Well, you might be saying, great, we don't have to worry. We use Fahrenheit in the US, so the impact won't really be as bad. Of course, that would be moronic. And the significance with hurricanes and extreme weather is pretty direct. Here's a quote from Gabriel Vecchi, who's a professor of geosciences at Princeton University. He said, "A warmer ocean makes a warmer atmosphere. A warmer atmosphere can hold more. So all other things equal, the same storm in a warmer planet would give you more rainfall." Now, this is not literally true, right? The saying the atmosphere can hold 7% more water. It's more accurate to say there's more energy in the weather cycle, so it can move more water. It's sort of a shorthand, right? The atmosphere can hold 7% more water. And of course, climate change encompasses a lot more than just water. We've talked about pollution. We've talked about the ocean's ability to carry life as a result of acidification of oceans. It's a long list. But as far as weather is concerned, this summer's hurricane season has been particularly warm in the region of the Atlantic where hurricanes form. Sea surface temperatures have been anywhere from half a degree to a degree Celsius above average. The higher temperatures mean that hurricanes will store more water, which they will eventually dump when they make landfall, which means bigger storm surges and more flooding. But let's talk a little bit about the math, because very often the devil is in the details. The most important thing I can tell you about this equation is that for every degree of temperature increase, you add 7% to the holding capacity of the atmosphere, not 7 units. This means that it is an exponential increase. It's sort of like compound interest. If you put $100 in an account earning 5% interest, that first year you earn $5. But next year, you earn 5% of the $105 that you now have, meaning in year 2, you're adding $5.25. Same thing with the air temperature, meaning that 1 degree increase adds 7%. The second degree increase adds another 7%, which is a growing amount of water that can be conceivably held. Add that to the fact that damage caused by rainfall or flooding is also exponential, right? With snow, you can think about it. 2 inches of snow doesn't really cause much more chaos than an inch of snow. A third inch of snow, it starts to get a little dicey. The third inch of snow causes a lot more chaos than the second inch, and so on until eventually you've got enough snow that power lines become downed, etc. Same thing with rainfall, and that's why all of this, Pat, the financial damage grows exponentially. It's all exponential equations, and that's what a lot of people don't get when they say, well, we've had a little more rainfall in the last few years, or a couple more hurricanes, or whatever.
There are still plenty of people in that anti-science community who just think this is no big deal.
Yeah.
And one thing that they'll point to is there hadn't been a major hurricane to hit the U.S. since 2005, I think 12 years. And now that kind of puts aside, that we had some pretty significant storms, including Hurricane Gustav, Superstorm Sandy.
Sure.
Aside from that, though, it could just be luck.
Yeah, 12 years is not a long time.
Yeah, and also the world's a pretty big place. It's not
Yes.
just the United States that we're talking about. Just because they're not forming here and maybe the jet stream is bringing it to a different direction, we could be due for more.
It's unconscionable to basically write off all of the concerns in that way. It truly is. And we're going to continue talking about it. And I think there's no better opportunity than when we're having these huge hurricanes to actually talk about the broader issues that we're facing. The video you just finished watching was made possible by you through the membership program. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. We are viewer-supported independent media. You can use the coupon code IVOTED17 for a 40% discount off of your membership.